learners, welcome to our Module 8, and today's video discussion will be on Montessori's life sketch and the contribution to the modern education. Already in our previous video content, we have discussed about the Montessori's educational philosophy, and I too also briefly describe who was Montessori, and in this discussion I'll explain something more about Montessori and who was Maria Montessori. Maria Montessori was born in August 31st, 1870 in Chiaravalley, Italy, and grew up in a time when women had limited opportunities. And yet she defied the societal expectation when women had very limited opportunities. And yet she defied societal expectation by pursuing higher education. So at that time she took the opportunity to get the higher education, because at that time very few women get the opportunity for getting education in her social scenario. Then her father, Alessandro Montessori, was a government official, and her mother, Renilde Stockney, was well educated and supportive of Maria's ambition, because she was very much ambitious at that time. Then initially she was interested in engineering. Maria later shifted her focus to medicine. In 1896, what happened? She became one of the first women in Italy to earn a medical degree, graduating from the University of Rome. Then her achievement was groundbreaking, as women in medicine faced immense discrimination. Despite the challenges, she excelled and specialized in pediatrics and psychiatry. So, early career and interest in education, Montessori's work as a physician brought her into a close interact with the children, particularly those with special needs. And she worked at a psychiatric clinic in the University of Rome because she was getting interested with the children, and where she observed that children with cognitive disabilities were often neglected. She studied the works of Jean-Marc Gaspard, Itard, and Eduard Sanguin, and pioneers in education for children with disabilities, and used their insight into develop innovative teaching methods for them. Then in 1900, she became co-director in a training for Institute of Special Education Teachers. Then through her work, she discovered that children with learning difficulties could improve significantly when provided with some proper materials, proper teaching methods, and proper care to them. This realization led her to explore broader educational reforms. So, and she gradually became a reformer in the field of education system. Then the first Montessori school in 1907, Maria Montessori opened her first school, Casa dei Bambini, which means children's house in the San Lorenzo district of Rome. Then the school aimed to educate underprivileged children using new child-centered approaches, because she was one of the innovators, we can say, about child-centric education system. Then Montessori observed that children learn best when they are provided the freedom to explore and switch activities according to their interest, and introduce specially designed learning materials and emphasize self-directed learning, hands-on experiences, and an environment which fosters independence the children to choose their activities. And her method proved highly effective, leading to improved focus, self-discipline, and enthusiasm for learning among the children. Then, expansion of Montessori's method. Montessori's success gained international recognition. Her method gets globally recognized, and educators, researchers, and reformers from around the world visited her school to study the method, because she innovated some new methods, new techniques to give the education system or realize the aims of education. Therefore, Montessori schools had been established in Italy and Switzerland, and the movement quickly spread to other countries, including the United States. Then, in 1913, what happened? Montessori traveled to the US, and where she received widespread acclaim. Then influential figures like Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison supported her work, supported her vision, supported her educational philosophy, and she also conducted teacher training programs, teacher in Europe as well as America, ensuring the global expansion of her educational philosophy. Then Fiercely challenges and exile was there. What are the challenges and exile? Despite her growing influence, Montessori faced opposition, particularly from traditional education system, which didn't want to accept, and political regime. Fascist leaders opposed her emphasis on independent thinking. By 1934, Montessori schools in Italy were shut down under Mussolini's rule. So this was the challenges that she had to face because her journey was not smooth. Then Montessori went to exile, spending years in Spain, the Netherlands, and India. During the World War II, she remained in India, where she developed the concept of education for peace and introduced educational program emphasized global harmony. Then she trained many Indian teachers and was deeply influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. Later years and legacy, if we say about her later years and legacy, then we must mention that after the war, Montessori continued promoting her educational approach worldwide, and she established the Association Montessori International, AMI in short, in 1929 to oversee the spread her philosophy. She also introduced the 4 plans of development, a framework outlining children's cognitive and emotional growth from birth to the adulthood. Montessori was nominated for the Nobel Prize 3 times, which was in 1949, 1950 and 1951, and for her work in education and peace advocacy. Then she passed away in May 6th in 1952 in Noordwijk, Netherlands, and leaving behind a transformative legacy in education, which we are still using her philosophical perspectives and philosophical principles in our present education system to give our children a beautiful and energetic as well as involved educational environment. Then Maria Montessori revolutionized early childhood education with her learning and respect for child's natural development continues to influence modern education. Today, thousands of Montessori schools exist worldwide and demonstrating the lasting impact of her vision and dedication to improving children's lives. So, let's discuss Montessori's contribution to modern education. Already we have discussed what Montessori has explained or what Montessori has suggested, what was her philosophical background, everything. Now, how much it has each influential factor in our modern education system, we have to observe. So Maria Montessori was a visionary educator, physician and advocate for children's growth and children's right, and whose innovative method transformed early childhood education. Her work emphasized child learning, centered learning, independence and respect for child's natural the psychological development. Then Montessori's contribution to modern education continue to shape classroom worldwide and influencing both early childhood education and general educational practices. First of all, Montessori method, revolutionary approach. The Montessori method is a revolutionary philosophy that prioritizes hands-on experiential learning. It focuses on natural curiosity of children, allowing them to learn through exploration rather than rote memorization. Montessori's approaches differ from traditional education and several key ways. First of all, child-centered learning. Montessori classroom is designed around the child's needs rather than a rigid traditional method imposed by the teachers. Children choose their activities based on interest and readiness. So prepared environment, as we have discussed in another video content, that what was the environment. The classroom is structured to encourage exploration, encourages the self-discipline, and with materials that are accessible and developmentally appropriate. Then self-directed activity, which has influenced our modern education system. Students learn at their own pace, which foster intrinsic motivation and deep understanding rather than passive absorption of knowledge. Then the teacher as a guide. Instead of being as a central authority, teacher's role in the Montessori education to guide, to help the children. And present education also given the responsibility of the teacher to play their role as a guide, as a friend, as a philosopher. So this methodology has significantly influenced the modern educational practices, including student-centered learning, then differentiated instruction and inquiry-based approaches. Then contribution to early childhood education. Montessori's greatest impact has been in early childhood education, particularly for children between the ages of 3 to 6 years, and she introduced several key concepts that have since become integral to preschool and kindergarten education. Importance of early years. Montessori emphasized that first 6 years of life are very crucial of cognitive and social development. So identified this period is as absorbent period, mind stage, and during which children naturally develop and absorb knowledge from their surrounding or from their environment. This insight led the creation of educational setting designed to stimulate young minds through sensory experiences and hands-on learning. Montessori materials. She develops specialized materials such as sensory materials, practical life activities, mathematics and language materials. So many of these materials are still used in Montessori and non-Montessori classroom to promote hands-on and experiential learning. Then Montessori used multi-age groupings. We have already discussed that, allowing younger children to learn from older peers, or older peers' responsibility was give guidance to the younger children. And this model fosters collaboration, leadership and a sense of community, which is very helpful to gain social skills. Then today mixed age classrooms are used in many alternative and progressive models of education. Emphasis on independence and self-discipline. As we have already discussed how Montessori has given importance on self-discipline and independence. So Montessori believed that education should develop self-reliance and autonomy. She argued that children thrive when given the freedom to make choices within some boundaries or within some structured limitations or environment. This principle is reflected in several modern educational trends. Student-led learning, encouraging students to take charge of their learning process, assign project-based and inquiry-based learning models. Then self-regulation and executive function. Montessori emphasis on self-discipline, responsibility, and aligns with contemporary research and executive functions, which highlights the importance of impulse control, problem solving, goal setting in child. Then minimal teacher intervention. Montessori's concept of teacher was that teacher should act as facilitator rather than a traditional or authoritarian figure. So a concept that has influenced modern progressive and constructive educational models. Then holistic development, educating the child as a whole. It means Montessori's education does not focus solely on academic, only intellectual development. She has not only the focus but also emphasizes emotional, social, physical development. This approach has shaped modern holistic approach of educational models in different ways, such as social and emotional learning. Montessori's classroom incorporate activities that foster emotional and intelligence, empathy, then social skills, group work, peace education, and conflict resolution exercises help children to develop strong educational relationships. These principles are newly recognized in SEL program across in mainstream education. Then practical life skills. Montessori's curriculum included real-life tasks such as cooking, cleaning, gardening, etc., and which teach the responsibility, self-dependency. Many modern educational models, and including Waldorf and Reggio Emilia, that have adopted similar approaches to implement in the field of education. Then mindfulness and concentration. Montessori's classroom encourages children to work on tasks for extended period without interruption. Now, this practices fosters to help concentration, a concept that has influenced contemporary mindfulness-based education program. Then individualized learning and differentiated instruction. Montessori was prior in recognizes that child learns at their own pace or at their own rate. So her method emphasizes individualized learning plans based on child's interest and developmental stage. So this approach has influenced modern trends, personalized learning plans, differentiated instruction, competency-based education. Then another important thing we have to discuss, that education for peace and global citizen. Montessori was a strong advocate for education to use as a tool for global peace. She believed that a respectful and nurturing learning environment fosters compassion and global awareness. Her work in this area has influenced global education program. Many international schools incorporate Montessori's inspired peace education, conflict resolution in schools, meditation and peer conflict resolution programs reflect Montessori's belief in teaching children to solve disputes peacefully. Then UNESCO's educational philosophy. Montessori's ideas align with UNESCO's emphasis on education as a means to promote world peace and cross-cultural understanding. Then contribution to special education, which is very much important and significant, and it is influential contribution, important contribution in the field of education. Montessori's early work on children with disabilities laid the contribution for modern spatial educational practices, because inclusive education is now we are using the concept, and she believed that children with special needs could thrive with the right educational approach. Her contribution include hands-on learning for special needs, inclusive classroom, self-paced learning, and influence on modern educational movement. Montessori's principles have inspired numerous contemporary education models, including Reggio Emilia approach, shares Montessori's emphasis on child-led exploration and prepared environment. Waldorf education, similar to Montessori's education system, which holistic approach through the incorporates more artistic and imaginative elements. Then democratic school, which encourages self-directed learning, much like Montessori's philosophy. Progressive education, Montessori's ideas align with John Dewey's emphasis on experiential learning and active student engagement. So these are the influential contribution of Montessori, Dr. Maria Montessori, in our modern education. Then Maria Montessori's contribution to modern education are profound and enduring. Her emphasis on child-centered learning, independence, hands-on experiences, as well as holistic development has transformed early childhood education and influenced mainstream schooling worldwide. Then today, thousands of Montessori schools operate globally, and her principles are used and are continued to shape contemporary educational practices, proving that her vision of a better educational system remains as relevant as ever. Thank you, learners.